This is a Muscle Cat Media production. We may sound distinguished, but believe me, we're not.
Welcome you back to the Baseball Expats. If you haven't done so already, do like and subscribe to the podcast and visit our new website, baseballexpats.com. Look, I've been trying to do as much as I can to populate the content. We really don't know what we're doing with that website yet, but go give it a visit. It looks nice, at least I think so. I would have reason to do so because I built it. Anyways, the boys are with us. The gang is all back together as we look back at opening weekend and peel back the curtain on a heater that our man Spoon had on the first day of the new week of the Major League Baseball season. We'll say hello to the fellas. First of all, Eric, the Blue Jays certainly had an interesting, albeit quite fun weekend to start things off.
No, this season's over. Here's what happened. So I haven't had service the last 2 days, by the way. Like literally all I know is Spoon has made a lot of money, and we'll talk about that later. But while I was starting to drive home from camping on the weekend, chuck the game on the radio for a little bit, get the score update, and we were like 3 innings in the game, and Cody Ponce was dealing. So it prompted me to message our group chat, say, guys, this Blue Jays rotation is filthy right now, right? And I listed off the 3 guys that are hurt still. Like, they haven't even entered the rotation. I guess this is why the Jays quite strategically invested heavy in starting pitching and, stuff was going to have this happen. Then a freak injury that sort of looks like an Achilles, right? Like, has there been an update on that? Like, I'm assuming Cody Ponce is done, right? Like,
they said knee, so maybe ACL.
Oh, great. Perfect. That other injury that takes a week to recover from, right? Like, so he's going to be out long term. On top of that, this Blue Jays market today was the shortest ever odds for the Blue Jays to win a baseball game since 2003. Like, they were heavy favorites. They just came off this sweep. Cody Ponce was looking good. Colorado Rockies in town. No problem. And then they lose 14-5. Like, they were down, I forget what it was at one point. It was like 13-1 in the 8th inning at one point before the Jays made it a little closer. So that was a little concerning. Ezequiel Tovar's a dude. I mean, I think he's gonna go make a lot of money somewhere else, right? That was cool. But yeah, I mean, Jesus Sanchez is my Blue Jay takeaway. He's been pretty great. But yeah, so the Blue Jays are in some starting pitching strife just moments after I sent that message.
Well, look, if you want to, we saw a pretty crazy athletic feat from Chris Bassett in today's earlier game. So if you feel like you really need to go back to the well, you can probably go to Baltimore and re-sign him. Probably one of the most unathletic plays I have ever seen a professional pitcher make. And Spoon, you're the one that shared that with us. Your thoughts on Chris Bassett's athleticism after what we saw earlier today?
It's funny. I saw a comment that was like me trying to play MLB The Show with like the custom fielding buttons, and I've done that in MLB The Show. I've never done it in real life because I've never been allowed to pitch, which is probably a good thing. But it's always funny. I mean, even on throws to first, like these guys can throw 90 right where they want it. They can paint the corners, but as soon as there's like a slight bit of pressure or their timing's a little bit off, the ball could go anywhere. And that's what happened today for the Orioles starter.
For those that haven't seen it, try your best to explain what happened, because it was genuinely, it looked like a glitch in the Matrix. Like, it looked like something that should never happen ever on a Major League Baseball field.
Yeah, I think 1 out, runner second and third, come back a pretty softly hit. Runner takes off, which, I mean, he definitely wasn't expecting because it was fielded cleanly. So the runner's out by a mile if he makes a decent throw. But instead of a decent throw, he would have thrown it 3 or 4 batter's boxes wide and maybe 1 batter's box short of the intended target. And the way in which he threw it, it's just this little like almost shot put kind of overhand toss straight past his catcher. It was bad. I've watched a lot of baseball. It was probably right up there.
Everywhere you Google and everyone message, I had like 4 different people be like, this is the worst throw to home I've ever seen in my life. But people have a very short memory. What about a Ryan Kerkering last year in the ALDS in his throw that literally sent the Dodgers into the next round. That was 10 times worse. It was a bigger situation, and the throw was way more unathletic from Orion Kerkering, right? Like, if you remember Kerkering's, his was just like this weird open-armed crossbody thing that went on the third base side. I think Bassett's was on the first base, but Kerkering's was way worse.
It is a short memory kind of thing whenever anything's the worst in baseball, it's like it's probably not ever, because we play 162 games a year every year. It's more like the worst I've seen this week.
I think with the Kerkering one, though,
it's got top 10 covered.
Well, but I think with the Kerkering one, though, like the situation has to go into effect, right? Like, what inning was it in when Chris Bassett did that? Like, it was still daytime outside.
Like the
right?
second.
Yeah, it's like the second or third inning of his first start of the season. So he's not really doing a whole lot to endear himself to his new teammates in Baltimore.
Yeah,
Look,
well,
obviously a big weekend of baseball. You know, I mean, there's a lot of different directions that we can go in this, and Spoon is going to give us a breakdown of a heater that he had today, essentially the Monday slate in Major League Baseball, the first Monday slate in Major League Baseball, on the first day that all 30 teams were in action in the same day. But there's a few things that I do want to touch on that we saw over the weekend, and I touched on some of these in an article that I penned on the website, baseballexpats.com, just sort of 5 fun takeaways. Are any of us surprised that CB Bucknor was overturned 6 times in a game? Like, this almost feels like an unintended consequence, and probably a reason why you're hearing a lot of probably younger umpires go, I'm fine with this ABS thing, because I think it's going to get rid of a lot of these dinosaurs that everybody has known is bad, and all of the data has been telling us is bad. But the fact that they're now just being outright embarrassed on the field, and like with CB, I think it happened on back-to-back pitches, even as well. And they were like, and one of them was, I think, more than 2 inches off the plate, and it was called a strike. And that may have been the second one, right? So it maybe is an unintended consequence, or maybe as far as Major League Baseball and Rob Manfred are concerned, an intended consequence is I feel like it's not going to get rid of some of these dinosaur umpires because Major League Baseball is going to get rid of them. But I think at some point, the embarrassment that they feel by continuing to get overturned, and the older they get, they're probably just going to throw their hands up and say, this isn't for me anymore, right?
Yeah, I think the umpires union was against it for a long time for this reason, right? It's made up of a bunch of old guys who know they're on the gravy train, and there kind of hasn't been any accountability in that department for a very long time. I'm surprised it was 6 times, because I had the over 7.5. So it was probably a great game by CV standards. There was another one today. The home plate umpire between the Mariners and the Yankees had a shocker. I was watching closely for Luis Castillo strikeouts, and I think there was like 6 or 7 low strikes overturned by Yankees hitters by the 3rd or 4th inning. So these guys are going to get found out in a big way, because until now, like you said, the only way to kind of check on this was Ump Scorecard, the Twitter page and the website, which has kept track of some of these, but probably not to mainstream appeal. It was a bit more niche. There's really nowhere to hide anymore.
It's kind of crazy, right? Like, I think I'm still waiting for the moment, right, where a team loses 2 challenges early in the game because they burned them, and it comes to like extra innings, and there is a ball that is 1.5 feet off the plate that is called a strike or something, and
you get another one in extra innings.
Well, okay, in the 9th inning, call it, right? Like at a pivotal time where like bases were loaded and they thought it was ball 4 and it was called a strike, and it quite literally cost them a game because they mismanaged the ABS. Like, I don't know, like I saw a pretty funny tweet earlier that was like, ABS has turned baseball into the true sport of our time. Human experts trying to prove their continued worth in the face of a soulless machine that can humiliate them at any moment. Like, that's kind of the fun of it. I like it.
I like it.
Do you feel like 2 is the right amount, having 2 unsuccessful challenges? I mean, when you think about how many pitches are thrown over the course of the game, if you get 2 wrong in what is, I mean, what on average 120 pitches probably per team, you'd have to look up what the actual average per team per game pitch count was last year. But I would imagine it's probably around 120 pitches, right? So you're then saying 2 out of 120, if you miss those, you now don't have the opportunity to challenge. Obviously, if you challenge and win it, you get it back. And again, small sample size, watching a little bit of it in spring training. We obviously didn't have it in the World Baseball Classic, which could have made quite a bit of difference to the Dominican Republic. Do you feel like early on, after watching for 3 or 4 days and binge watching baseball during the weekend, that 2 unsuccessful challenges is the right amount?
No, it's going to change. It's going to be a full ABS system, just like it is in Korea. I was tuning into a couple Korean games on Soup Live, which is a good little app, by the way, to act it. And there's 3 Australians in there. And it's a full ABS system, right? Like, that's where the MLB is going. Like, this is just the taster. They have the challenge. They'll try it out. But it is going full ABS. And there was a pretty interesting video. Our friend of our show, he was on it. Jeff Duda tweeted out. I don't know if you saw that. He posted a montage of all these like pitchers. Everyone was getting crossed up. It was all of these cross ups, but they were strikes. So like all these batters were just like confused why this was called a ball and a strike, but it was a strike. So ABS is coming, baby.
I don't know. I'm kind of, it definitely couldn't be less than 2, or, no team would use it because they save it for the 8th and 9th. I think if it was more than 2, to Eric's point, we might as well have unlimited and it might as well be fully there. I like the balance right now. I think there's still an art to pitch framing, and framing being done the right way is still almost tricking hitters into using challenges. And there's still a bit of strategy around trying to make the other team burn their challenge. So I'm not sure I want it to be 100%, especially when you see, I know a strike is a strike, but you see the ones that just kiss the side that no one could really hit anyway. And look, I bet strikeouts every single day. I don't want some of these pitches to be strikes. I still want the hitters to have a chance. And I don't want pitchers to be in a position where they're aiming for the ball to glance on a sweeper, like cross the plate down the bottom corner and not actually be a hittable pitch. I think there's a sweet spot, and they might have accidentally found it the first time.
I think 2 things can be true. I think you can be full on right. Like, I agree with both of you. Like, the ABS, I actually love it. That's a good twist to the game. It's strategic. There's timing to it. There's an art form to it. There's a leadership position in this. Who's calling it? There's probably a dude in every clubhouse that is just like the ABS or strike zone GOAT, right? Salvi is already making some fun videos. But the other thing can also be true is that once you give people a taste of something, they want more. And MLB has signed all of these deals with betting markets and betting agreements that everything is going to be driven by this. And all it takes is one bad decision or one poorly used challenge by a team, which is part of the strategy of it, that costs them a game, costs them a playoff spot, probably in a big market. It's probably the Yankees. For MLB and the Players Association just to say, you know what? Korea does it. Other people do it. Let's just go full ABS. And then all of that fun that we're having right now is going to be ruined. So I really do think that the league is going to go full ABS at some point. So we've got to enjoy this short ride.
I hope you're wrong. And the exception being the NBA brought in 2 challenges about 3 or 4 years ago and has kept it at 2. Even if you use 2 over there, if you use 2 and get them correct, you still lose them. And there's still howler calls late in the game because the team blows it. And maybe, the MLB being late to this party will stick to that. I'm not sure.
That's not true, though, because teams have 2 challenges, and it's the same in NFL, and there's 2 challenges there. And the NHL as well. They've done it really well. The NHL is a challenge where you can challenge an offside or a goal, but if you're wrong, you end up having to go shorthanded. So it becomes a crazy thing, right? So it's like someone just ties the game at 3, and you're like, I'm not too sure. It's borderline. Oh, we gambled it. We were wrong. We can do it as much as we want, but now we're shorthanded and we're going to lose. I've seen that happen to the Leafs in the playoffs, mind you. But what the NFL, NHL, and NBA have is they have booth reviews. So is it going to get to a point where it's like from the 7th inning onward, the MLB can go full ABS and they can do like a full booth review, a little earpiece in the umpire that already exists, right? Like, nope, that was a strike. Like, does the umpire disappear after a certain inning? Like, that could come too. Booth reviews could happen in critical times of the game. Call it the 9th inning, the 8th inning, just like they do late in the game of the NBA and the NFL.
So then it becomes tennis, right? Everything's binary, yes or no, 0 human error.
Which is what KBO is becoming. So I don't like that. Like, I think the best part about baseball is this like skill of framing and, that's what makes this game so beautiful is like it's such an imperfect game with a wild system. It's a game of failure. It's a game that's all about how do you thrive in a chaotic situation where everything is stacked against you. So that should be part of it. The human
and emotion, right? Like,
and emotion.
Guys are like, there's no way I just struck out looking. So they challenge almost like an ego thing because they think their eye is better than anyone's. And then they check and it's like right down the middle.
I agree. So, like, I think this is sweet. I think this is going to be a really fun season, but I just see so many things. Like, once you give people a taste, they go the full way. And the things people are motivated by are money and wins. And as soon as it starts costing money for bettors and wins for teams, then all of a sudden we're going to have a problem.
Yeah, but I think with baseball, you always have to keep that bit of nuance because, like what you say, it's what separates the sport.
You don't
right?
have to.
So, but the moment that things become finite and too data driven, and you lose the nuance in the sport of baseball, I think baseball loses a lot of its charm. And I think
agree.
It'll be interesting to see exactly how long KBO goes with this. Like, are the umpires just on the field as like decoration? Are they just telling the players what's happening that's being fed into their ears, whether or not it's a ball or strike? Is that basically like they're just there as?
Yeah, they have I'm pretty sure they have like an earpiece.
So they're like AFL. They're like AFL goal umpires, and they're completely surplus to requirements at this point.
Yeah, the home plate umpire exists to A, I guess, either relay a message or B, call out or safe at home plate, which inevitably probably is going to get reviewed and challenged in some capacity anyways, right? So the home plate umpire definitely probably is surplus to requirements, which, at some point in baseball, and still to an extent in Major League Baseball, is one of the more important officiating positions in all of professional sport and all of sport in general. So I would hate to see that go away. But again, I started this conversation talking about how some of the dinosaurs of their era, like the CB Bucknors, are, I think, really starting to get embarrassed on kind of a personal level at the way that they're kind of being treated. And batters are just kind of showing no hesitation at challenging them at times because they've had to deal with this for so long. But now all of a sudden they have sort of a recourse for action. And early on in the season, they're taking it and they're proven to be right. So it'll be interesting to see sort of how that affects the turnover of umpires, particularly some of the old guys that have never had to deal with this. Because I think, much like us, I think the younger umpires coming through, they're going to grow up in this system. They're going to be fine with it. And once it finds that sweet spot, I think it's probably going to be a great marriage all the way around.
I think this is the sweet spot. We're living it, and I'm just worried it's not going to last long.
Speaking of sweet spot, it seems as though we have found that with rookies early in the season. And Spoon, you and I spent basically half an episode talking about the Rookie of the Year market. You want to give us a quick update on where Chase DeLauder is? Where is he sitting in the current Rookie of the Year market?
Yeah, I was actually looking at this just before. Give me a second to pull this up. American League, Kevin McGonigal, $3.75, Chase DeLauder, $4, Murakami, $6.50, and Okamoto, $8, rounds out your top four in single figures. And then in the National League, Sal Stewart, $5.25, JJ Weatherall, $5.50, Nolan McLean, $6.50, and Connor Griffin, $8 are your top four in single figures. What do we think?
I feel like Nolan McLean probably has the best pathway forward, right? Like he just puts together a really solid season as a full season as a starter. Like if he can kind of sit at the end of the year and say, he kind of like he was last year, right? Like if he has a 2.06 ERA, I think was what it was, 2.10 or something like that, low twos ERA at the end of the year. If he doubles down on that, how does he not win?
Yeah, it's interesting. The other two pitchers in the NL conversation both make their season debut tomorrow, that being Andrew Painter from the Phillies and Bubba Chandler from the Pirates. So I think that market's going to jump again once those guys start to throw tomorrow. But I'm with you. I think, I don't know, at the same time, you could say the same thing about JJ Weatherall, like batting lead off on a bad team, already off to a hot start, 5-tool, he's going to steal bases, trying to tell Rosie what he wants to hear here, but I think JJ Weatherall's right in that conversation.
What about when
It's
Trey
also
Savage comes back?
He's 26s.
That could be good value, right? Like Savage is going to be starting a game in 3 weeks from now, and people will forget that he missed half of April. And if he goes the full season and keeps doing what he's doing, then Trey Savage, jump on him at 26 now is probably worth a flyer at a low value.
Well, I think it's a good time to remind everybody that, I mean, we said it when we spoke about this a couple of weeks ago, Spoon. I think in the preseason before a pitch was thrown, the two Rookie of the Years for each league last year were upwards of 40-1 before the season started. So you can have these overreactions and guys that were in the market to begin a season, have hot starts to the season. All it takes is an injury or, maybe some guy struggles, i.e. Jordan Walker a couple of years ago. I mean, remember when Jordan Walker came into the season like $3 3 years ago to be the rookie of the year because he was the next best thing since sliced bread. And then in June, he's back in Memphis.
Sasaki $1.90.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So, look, the overreaction is always going to come for the guys that were in the market or thereabouts. But, yeah, I mean, Trey Savage is a guy that we talked about, I think, in the preseason before that injury was the favorite in the American League. So you got a guy who's a favorite that's now sitting, around the $20 mark for a Rookie of the Year market. If he comes back and he's healthy and he dominates again, then that's probably a pretty good play. But you're right. That is such a reactionary market for that to have changed as much as it has in a 162-game season just after the opening weekend.
I've got one for you in terms of trying to jump a market. You use that word 40 to 1. Look, the MVP award is all about a story, right? Like it's all about the story. It's all about the narrative. You know who looked really, really, really great this weekend?
Mike Trout.
Mike Trout, right?
Yep.
Like if he stays healthy, I mean, it's not a hot take to say the Mike Trout, if he stays healthy, is an MVP caliber player. But if Mike Trout stays healthy, you could probably jump on him now, and I bet you the odds would be ridiculous on Mike Trout.
Yeah, he's 41.
Not bad, not bad to jump at. I'm sure like all the other guys are obviously way ahead of him, but like when he's healthy, man, it's such a shame. What a wasted career.
Yeah, I mean, he's still probably going to notch 100 WAR, right? He's 87.4 now. He'd need a couple of really good seasons. But I mean, yeah, he's won the award 3 times. You'll probably never, ever see another award betting in sports where a guy's 41 to 1 and he's won it 3 times, right? Like if anyone had ever won 3 Cy Youngs, you'd never see it with a 4 in front of it.
And imagine being just like after, he played a handful of games. I mean, he's played over 100 games in 4 or 5 seasons. And then last year he was there, but he missed some time. He was healthy, but he was just not himself. Like you add that element of like, he's mid-30s. He's still proving he can do it. It's a comeback story. Like it's a narrative, right? Like if it's a close race between him and Aaron Judge, like it was with Cal and Aaron Judge last year, you're probably like, you know what? Mike Trout might never win one again. So let's give it to him and make him a 4-time winner.
And look, while we're doing this, I think maybe just touching on Spoon, some of those guys that you kind of spotted as guys with, that you like the over and strikeout markets, guys that you sort of tickled at longer prices in the Cy Young futures. There were a few bright spots in some of those early plays that you gave us a few weeks ago that came out of opening weekend.
Yeah, Yuri Perez looked great. The biggest thing I like to see on opening day when I'm worried about how a team's going to handle a guy is how they handle him in that first start. And for a few of those guys, Yuri Perez is one, Chase Burns is another. They could have not let him go any further, but they did. They let Yuri Perez throw more pitches than Sandy, which is crazy for a 21-year-old who, hasn't really had a full season for a couple of years due to injury. That showed really good intent to me. I loved everything I saw about his start, rocking his kit today, all in on Yuri Perez. Chase Burns, similar story, maybe needs a lot more to go right for him to be in that award conversation, but he's 41s to, Perez's 36s. It looked really good. So yeah, there's a few of those young starters that I thought were really impressive. And when you're striking out 7-8 guys on 80 pitches, the sky's the limit once you get stretched out in 3 or 4 weeks and you're touching 100 pitches with your count.
And one way that I think, look, we already knew you were a bit of a sicko, but one way that confirmed it is I think you sent us a screenshot of the Marlins bringing back the old Florida Marlins teal uniforms of the 90s and 2000s. And you said how many Yuri Perez jerseys is too many Yuri Perez jerseys for an Australian man to own? I would say 1 is the answer, but it seems like inevitably there's going to be a second one in your closet.
I would love if anyone listening can put it out there if they live in Australia and they own one of these, because I got a good feeling I'm one of the only ones. It's got to be a 1 of 1, if not a 1 of 10. That's right now. When he wins the NL Cy Young this year, he's going to become a household name and everyone's going to have 1 or 2. That's going to be like the base number of Yuri Perez jerseys to own. But right now, I've cornered the market early, diversifying.
And just before we break for Spoon's tips, because he does have a couple more, he was on a heater, and we'll talk about that after the break. But Eric, there was just something else that you wanted to touch on with Murakami and the weekend that he had.
Yeah, obviously a great weekend, but I thought the funniest part about that was look, I'm quite partial to Japanese baseball fans, right? Like I just spent a month pandering speaking in Japanese, using it, whatever it is. But I'm on now the X side of Japanese Twitter, and there was a couple posts that came up verifying this. What's really, really funny is obviously the White Sox suck, and Munetake is really, really good. And it's really, really funny watching Japanese fans on X claim that as their right first, because Munetake was on the Tokyo Swallows, who were terrible. And everyone's basically just like, we're there first. So a couple tweets are just like, we Swallows fans are the ones who have enjoyed the cultural heritage of Murakami hits home runs, even when team can't win, way before White Sox fans. Let's join hands and share this joy. Then there's, it's better to be the head of a chicken than the ass of a cow. This is a Japanese proverb. At least we Swallows fans are happy that Murakami has been given a chance to become a key player in a Major League Baseball. I will not stop supporting you. And other ones like, Mune never stops inspiring the team no matter the situation. Let's go, White Sox. Here are words from our favorite chant. Through the hardest times, we stand with you. Let's join hands as fight is one, starting at this very moment. So it's kind of funny seeing fans of trash teams from Japan try to like shed positivity about their star player who's mashing just like he was on a terrible team once again. Poor Munetake.
And in the White Sox subreddit, they're all like, what time should we do the group suicide pact? Is everyone still good for 9 o'clock?
Yeah.
On Murakami, it's an interesting conversation I saw. How early is too early to trade him, right? Because he's on an incredibly friendly, team-friendly 2-year deal. The concern was always he can't hit heaters, and albeit his 3 home runs, I think, are off pitches that were 93, not 98, 99 like he's going to face. But how early is too early for the White Sox to say, we have zero farm, zero future? This is the one time we've got to go and get a haul. I mean, obviously you want to wait to the deadline because that's when teams get more desperate. Do you guys think he finishes the season in Chicago, or is he a no-brainer trade candidate for a true DH needing team?
He'd be an off-season move, if anything, I think. But you're right. He's a team-friendly contract. So if he does mash the whole year or at the trade deadline, someone desperate might come in there. And I guess baseball's all about acquiring assets. And if you have a good one, you can multiply that into more.
Well, I mean, barring injury, thinking about a team maybe that's top 5 in each league that may be able to use another middle-of-the-order bat, like, is there anyone that sort of jumps out? I mean, the Texas Rangers, who I know is a team that you potentially were high on, Spoon, maybe they would be an option.
Dodgers.
Depending on,
they spend too much money on Jock Peterson.
He's going to be a Dodger.
They can't bat 10. I could see it. He seems like the perfect Padres guy to me.
Yeah.
They've always really struggled to fill that proper DH kind of role. Instead, they've always had another shortstop that they've jammed over there who has always underperformed in the DH spot because he's used to playing in the field, and all of a sudden he's sitting on the bench, for a lot of the time. I could see him as a Padre for sure. I could see him as a Giant as well. He'll probably end up in the NL West, not with the Dodgers, I hope, and not with the D-backs because I can't see it personally. But yeah, I mean, it would be a lot of fun to watch him make a playoff run for someone, not just next year, but this year too. So definitely a deadline acquisition to watch.
And he strikes out a lot, so that would fit the maybe the Padres MO.
Or the Giants. Like here comes, Devers, Chapman, and Murakami, bases loaded. They just need
1 for 4 with a solo shot.
They need a sack.
9 strikeouts combined.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe even somebody like the Chicago Cubs, where he could go and play with Seiya Suzuki potentially if there's a fit, depending on where the Cubs end up at.
I love it. That's how bad it is for White Sox. We're just talking about trading.
We're going to trade him to the north side. And just quickly on that proverb, I'm kind of glad that we in the West use big fish in a small pond than a small fish in a big pond, as opposed to head of the chicken and ass of the cow. That seems like it seems like there's a lot of lines to draw, T's to cross, and I's to dot to get to that point. I think that proverb is trying to say basically the same thing, but big fish in a small pond seems a little bit more apropos. Well, we're going to step aside. On the other side, we will talk about the heater that Spoon had today. I think he's going to retire. This may be his last episode. We may never hear from him again.
Or you just need to follow Spoon Does Baseball immediately if you want to jump on it.
Well, yeah, we will get to that. And head to baseballexpats.com. But before we get to that, we will step aside and we'll have Spoon's tips on the other end. has left us, but Spoon is still here to give the people exactly what they want. Look, let's face it, you get to this point in the show, you're here for Spoon's tips, which we will give you. He's got a couple for the Tuesday slate in North America, the Wednesday games here in Australia. But before we get to that, I've been seeing bet slips and yahoos and emojis and all sorts of shit flying on the Baseball Expats chat today. Spoon, you have had the day of days, my friend. Walk us through what Tuesday afternoon has looked like for you from a betting standpoint, because everything that you thought would happen essentially has happened in the last 24 hours in baseball.
Yeah, as you guys know, I've been doing this for a long time under sort of different umbrellas or brands or whatever. And I've been chasing a day like this for a long time. And there's always one play that just kind of costs me. I'm talking about like 5, 6, 7 tips and they all come off. And today was that day. I've been waiting for a long time. And today we got it. So I'll run you through the tips. I started with Jack Leiter and Chris Bassett, 11 or more combined strikeouts at $2.40. Look, Leiter did the heavy work there. He had 8 of the 11. Bassett was pretty poor, not just his fielding, which we touched on earlier, but he could not throw strikes. But his 3 was enough to contribute and get the 11. I thought Chase Burns' strikeout line was too high to take on its own, even though I love his stuff. He was $1.55 for 7, which was crazy. So instead, I took 6 in the win at $2.10. That came off. Thought the White Sox and Miami game screamed over 8, which it did. I think there was 15 runs. Same with the Nats and Phillies over 9. I think there was another 15 runs there. It was a really cruisy start, those first few. Got a little bit tighter later on. I had Bryce Elder for 5 strikeouts or more. He got his 5. I had Ranger Suarez or Lance McCullers for 10 or more strikeouts at $2.25. And then I think 13 or more at $6 or something, which actually went really close. Ranger Suarez only had 3. Lance McCullers had 9. He looked unreal. If anyone hasn't seen Lance pitch today, they should check it out. It's a guy I've loved for so long. He's got 6 different pitches. When they're all working, he's a true strikeout artist. He's just had a lot of health issues. He's back, so we're going to be sticking with him for a while. I had Ryan Weathers and Luis Castillo to get 5 or more strikeouts each at $2.20. And then at 11-1, both guys to get 7 or more. And they both got 7. So I was already over the moon then. It was already going to be a double-digit day just about on units with one play left, which was Guardians 4 or more runs against the Dodgers. And they hit that as well. They kind of made Roki Sasaki work a little bit without tacking too many on. I think they only got 1 off him. But then the bullpen came in early and the Guardians scored late. And it ended up perfect sweep, nearly 11 units, just under 11 units. And all those were posted on Twitter beforehand and Instagram. So if you want to get in on the action, feel free. I'll be posting pretty much every day with a couple of disclaimers I've shared with you, Rosie, but mostly every day.
Yeah, so look, if you didn't have a reason, if you had a reason not to be following Spoon Does Baseball on Instagram and X, you no longer do. 8 for 8 on a day. I mean, that's a hell of a Tuesday for anybody. So well done, my friend. But you know as well as I do in this game, you're only as good as your next tip. So you've got a couple for the people. And look, no one's been more in fuego as you. They say the hot hand thing is a fallacy. It's called the hot hand fallacy. I don't believe that. When it comes to you, I don't believe that. I think we can stay hot. So what are your 2 plays for Wednesday, which is a Tuesday slate in North America?
Well, some of my futures guys, 3 of my futures, I think 6, 7 pitches all up that I invested on a season-wide basis. 3 of them go around tomorrow, so I'm really excited. I've already set the out-of-office email notification. I'll get back to you on Thursday. I'm currently watching Brandon Woodruff and Shane McClanahan pitch. 2 names that I flagged quite early on that you thought were rather niche. One guy you'd forgotten about entirely in McClanahan. I really love the look of the matchup for both guys tomorrow. And I really love that you can get both guys to have 5 or more strikeouts in the same game multi at 2-1. I think it's a great W money spot, much like the play I had today with Ryan Weathers and Luis Castillo. I think one thing I noticed today was teams that were getting to their 5th guy, their 5th starting pitcher or their 4th, they seem to go a little bit higher in pitch count. They probably had a little bit more work. They made probably the last of the team's spring training starts. We saw Luis Castillo hit 95 pitches or so today, and I needed every one of those 95. Woodruff and McClanahan have their injury concerns, which is why they're not SP1s this time around. They're SP5s. But 5 or more strikeouts for guys that I've got nudging 170, 180 this year on a season basis seems too good to pass up, and it's a game I'm going to be watching closely. So give me both of those guys at $2 to get 5 or more. And look, like you said, hot hand, I'm going to stick with the formula. I'm going to have a little bit on both guys to get 7 or more at $7 as well.
Whenever we spoke, was there sort of one of those guys that you were higher on? It's probably weird that, I mean, two guys, I mean, you gave us 5 or 6 names, and you're right. I mean, those were probably 2 of the more niche ones, and you gave your reasons for why. I'll link to that podcast down below in the show notes. So if you want to go back and have a listen to some of Spoon's rationale for why he liked these 2 guys. But what was there one or another that you were more keen on coming into this season, or did you sort of have the same feeling about both of them?
I think the way I looked at it was that Woodruff's got the higher floor. And just looking at my bets now, I've got Woodruff at 150 and just 150 because I think he gets there, assuming he makes, high 20s starts. I think he gets there pretty comfortably. I think McClanahan is the bigger question mark, but he's got the much higher upside. So with McClanahan, I'm on him for 150, 170, and 180 on a futures basis. So I kind of answered your question. I kind of didn't, but I think McClanahan has all the upside, and I think he's going to have a lot of these starts that push 9, 10 strikeouts. I think Woodruff's going to be consistently 5, 6, 7, 8, most starts. And look, both of those numbers do just fine for us tomorrow. And I'm excited to see how both guys look, because they both use the quote, "I've never felt better," which is, almost like a meme in sports reporting when guys are in the best shape of their life and they don't play like it. I'm hoping they were very honest with me when they said that, because I've invested accordingly.
Well, and look, I mean, Mizorowski's pitched well. The Brewers look good. I mean, I know they dropped one today, I believe, against Tampa Bay, which was their first loss, but it was a 3-2 loss. So, I mean, as if Woodruff needed any other reasons to pitch better, they're at home and his team's playing really well, right? So he certainly has reasons. And I mean, the way that the Rays started the season in St. Louis probably wasn't the way that they wanted to begin things, but a little bit of momentum winning their last 2. So you would think McClanahan would want to keep that run going as well. It would be odd, I think, to have these 2 niche guys that you're both high on going head-to-head in their first starts of the season.
Just like we drew it up.
But at the same time, it gives you the opportunity to write an out-of-office email that no one else in Australia or probably on the planet will have.
Yeah, that was the one. Two players in one.
Yeah, that's how you start me up. You told me you had 2, and it was 2 guys in one bet. What else you got?
Look, I'm really interested by a couple of guys tomorrow that I might play separately on Twitter. I'm really keen to see Andrew Painter's season debut against the Nationals, who are striking out a ton. My guy James Wood might hit 30 home runs, but he's going to strike out 200 tons again this year for sure, which is something we talked about a few weeks ago. Kodai Senga is another guy I've got a futures play on against your Cardinals tomorrow, but I'm not going that way. I'm going to go with a guy who's burnt me a couple of times, but also done brilliant things for me a couple of times. And if you know me and you saw a Red Sox-Houston Astros matchup with Hunter Brown starting, you would think I'd be going for Hunter Brown. But I'm actually going to go Brian Bayo, 5 strikeouts at $2.60, which is just a ludicrous price for a guy who's consistently getting 4, 5, or 6 strikeouts in almost all of his outings. He's much more a floor guy than a ceiling guy. We're not going to see him hit 7, 8, 9 very often this year, if at all. He has command issues randomly in innings, which really shorten his outings. But 5 strikeouts at $2.60, I'm going to take him on trust. And I'm going to make a disclaimer that if he can't hit 5 strikeouts tomorrow at $2.60, I will not tip him on this podcast for the rest of the year.
I think you and I both know that that's untrue.
I'm a man of my word sometimes.
He's a guy that you've fallen in and out of love with a couple times on this show, and those that would have listened last year, I think, would have understood your not love-hate relationship with Brian Bayo, but your hot and cold relationship, I think we can say, with Brian Bayo. But you're right. I mean, we talked about this again on that episode linked below where we talked about pitching futures. It just doesn't really feel like there's going to be any value ever this season with Hunter Brown, right?
Yeah, and look, his line 6.5 tomorrow did jump out at me a little bit because the Red Sox have been striking out. I mean, like I said, Lance McCullers struck out 9 Red Sox today. What I'm probably going to do tomorrow when these markets come out, based on the line for both guys, Bayo 3.5, Brown's at 6.5, you're probably going to be able to get about even money for 11 combined strikeouts. So I'm probably going to end up with a unit or 2 as a saver on those, so that if Hunter Brown does what he often does and gets 7 or 8, I need a little bit less from Bayo to cover, because I think he's going to go well. But, last year I was on him early, and I was often getting over 4.5, over 5.5. Now, to your point, you're going to need 7 and 8 to be really getting value for your bet. And look, we've already seen it this year. Like, I could not believe Chase Burns, $1.50 over 7.5 strikeouts for the first start of a season for a guy who apparently was questionable to make the rotation. That's crazy. And, your article, your most recent article about how strikeouts are here to stay, we're going to see more and more strikeouts. But where I see the value is in those guys at the lower level, that might not normally get 6 or 7, taking their over 3.5 and their over 4.5, because with ABS in play, I think the lower level starting pitcher, at least from a strikeout point of view, is going to be able to be consistently getting 4 and 5 this year. I'm not sure how much upside there is for guys who are throwing 99 with movement, who are already hitting their strikeout ceiling, like a Hunter Brown. So that's kind of where I'm playing a lot of the value, at least early on, while we wait for things to settle down.
No, I like both of those because, they're both interesting matchups, the Rays and Brewers and the Red Sox and Astros. And if you get a little bit of an investment, interesting pitching matchups on both sides with McClanahan and Woodruff on the one case, and then Brian Bayo and Hunter Brown in the other. Again, a reminder, if you're not already doing so, to give us a follow at Baseball Expats on Instagram. And again, follow our man Spoon. Spoon does baseball on both Instagram and Twitter. You can get text straight to you. Don't only follow him, turn on notifications as well, because our man's cooking up something just about all hours of the day. And as we talked about, if you had been following him today, you probably wouldn't have to go to work tomorrow or for the next 10 days. Just take it off, enjoy Easter, and
watch Woodruff versus McClanahan.
Spoon does baseball. Well, yeah, we're going to do the exact same thing tomorrow as well. We'll be back a little bit later in the week, just ahead of Good Friday. We will have a Thursday episode prior to the long weekend. But Spoon, enjoyed it, my friend. Enjoy the rest of the baseball. We'll see you later in the week.
Done.